So let's jump in and I'll just kind of play over it and I'll stop and talk and stop and all that good stuff. Here we go. Talk about that for now. Now we're getting into some more complex chords in this next little B section. But check this out. So I played mostly in pentatonic. I tried to land on the root of this, which is the fourth. And that's a good kind of bluesy, gospel-y phrasing when you just go. And if you can time it to where you're landing when the chord changes, it sounds really impactful. Now that's a phrase you could do just over B minor, but you could do it in this case where it's B minor to E minor, because those two are really closely related as far as the overall parent scale that they're from, and you can just pretty much stick to that one key. So I did that. That's a great phrase. Those kind of things, a little bluesy kind of action. And then when I got to the G chord, I'm thinking arpeggios. I like arpeggios. But I also landed on the F sharp, which is part of that minor pentatonic scale. And it's the seventh of that G major 7 chord. And it's all kind of closely related. And then the next part is I stuck on the G and the F sharp over the C9, and that added the kind of the fifth of that chord and the sharp 11. And for the most part, it fits into the tonality, especially when you weave these things into kind of like a motif. So you can spend some really quality time in your improvisations is thinking about really simple things and trying to weave them through this. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to stick on F sharp and G a lot through all this. I might add some color around those things, but my main focus is going to be F sharp and G, the two notes. And those are going to fit over all of these chords, all 4 of them. Let's back it up to the head. Here we go. F sharp and G is my targets. So that was a good example of having a repeated phrase with space. That's a really useful thing. So I did space. And that's a really simple line. And that's kind of thinking more as like a, like if you're in a studio situation. Not like that you have to be a studio musician, but like in a studio situation, you want to come up with parts that are memorable. It's not about really the chops that you display. That's fine, and that's super fun. You should practice that too. I do all the time. Sometimes I play too many notes, but it's fun when you're doing it within a backing track scenario because nobody's there. It's just you. So shred all you want. And then pull your foot off the gas a little bit. You don't have to play so many notes, and you can simplify things, and it just all of a sudden starts to sound good. But the shredding and being able to navigate changes really quickly allows you to see the fretboard quicker, so you can make decisions really fast while you're doing things like this. So I'm going to try to play as melodically as possible and less filler. I was just kind of getting used to the track. Now I got a feel for it. So now I'm going to try to weave a melody through this. And I'm going to try to think in longer phrases, not just chord by chord, but how is this melody fitting over 4 bars? How can I fit a melody? And maybe even try to repeat that, which is a fun little game to play with yourself when you're improvising, because sometimes you don't remember what you just played. And so I'm going to play through it, and I'll go through the B section too. And I'll just try to weave a melody, something that is singable. so there was some good stuff that happened in there. I liked when I got to this B section for the second time. I had this rhythmic thing that I'll try to remember, and it was kind of like walking down the scale. So it's got the ba da da, ba da da, ba da da. If we really simplify that line, space, space, bass, space. So the end of the phrase, I went up. All the notes were coming down, and then I went up. And that's a really general way to think about things, and which is probably a good thing. I think it's important to think about stuff in a general term sometimes so that you can remember it a little easier. I'm not playing exactly what I played when I improvised it, but I'm thinking about it generally so I can get the gist of it. And if I needed to play it exactly, I'd just go back and listen to the recording and just transcribe it. But in this case where we're improvising, it's a general idea, so I can emulate that melody a lot easier when it comes around again because I'm not thinking about highly specific material. It's just a general idea. I knew I started on the G in this case, which was the root of that chord in the B section right here. And I just came down. And then I take it up. And then do it again. And I ended on that one instead of the F sharp on the over the C chord because that's the third of the chord. So that's a general idea. And now I put the fills in between them. So if you think about this and break it down a little bit, I just doing the and you can approach that one or two ways. If you're playing with a live drummer and they hear that space, they might eat it up. And if there's a consistent rhythm to what you're doing as it's walking down, a good drummer will hear that you're going to do that phrase again, and they'll accent it with you. And so they'll accent it with their fills, and they'll accent it with just a crash or something like that. And that makes your line really impactful, especially in an improvisational way, where sometimes everyone can be in their own camps and just thinking about themselves all the time instead of locking it in together. And so those little phrases where you can just ba-da-bop, ba-da-bop, where they kind of lock the whole band in together and everyone can feel where it is. You could either let the band do some fills where that and you can step back and play really mature, or you can do the fills, and so you can do. So you can put the fills in if you want, or you can leave that space like we just talked about and let the drummer do it. Maybe the bass player or the keyboard, but a lot of times it's the drummer. And that can make your solo super impactful. It sounds like it's written, like you guys planned it out. And it's really just because you're improvising in a manner that's melodic. It has a consistency to it, like a melody that was composed, like a previously composed melody. And that's a really fun thing to do as like a challenge. So try to challenge yourself and come up with something like that can flow through the changes. It's not necessarily about arpeggiating every single chord at this point. You can just find this melodic line that has, in this case, a rhythmic motif, like a repeating pattern that people can jump onto. It's great for you as a listener, it's great for your band as listeners, and it's great for the audience as listeners. And it makes it sound the sound that you're producing is way more effective to the audience as far as to the translation of something musical. And that's the important part of improvisation is it's really a transference of energy from you as the individual and the band to the audience. How can you take them on a ride and emotional ride, a journey through this piece or this section of a piece that you're improvising? How can you take the energy from one place to another, whether it's low energy to high energy or higher to low, anywhere in between. That's how I think about improvisation. And there's tools within your improvisations that you would want to utilize for certain things. At the end of this B section, B2, I felt that was pretty high energy, relatively high energy for that moment. And then I wanted to bring it down, and so I started to instantly palm mute on the guitar on the next phrase. That's automatically going to bring the energy down. And that's a good thing in this case, because that's what I was going for. And then there's certain things that bring the energy up. Rhythmic accents that the drummer can help you with is going to bring the energy up. Playing fast can bring the energy up, which is a good thing. And playing a lot of notes sometimes can bring the energy up. You don't want to maybe do it all the time, but you can do it. Certain rhythmic things, tripleted rhythms against this kind of groove, it's got a swing to it, but it's a 2 groove. Tripleted grooves. Those kind of things can really emphasize a lot of energy moving forward. And so that's a really cool thing to be able to do for your audience and take them to a level that you want to. And those things kind of translate into your bandmates if they're listening. This is obviously a backing track, so nobody's listening to me while I'm playing, so they're not going to change what they're doing. But when you're with live musicians, they will do that. And so, let's see here. I'll go from this B section again, do that kind of motif that I did, and then transfer into whatever I feel like doing after that. And trying to think about playing melodically phrases. I'm probably not going to talk too much about this next one because the video is getting a little long. I'll probably just play a little bit and then kind of close it out, and we'll talk about more stuff in the next video. Here we go. Let's do it. So I'd love to get into that. Obviously here's a real smooth section. And I happened to lead into it quite nicely that time, which was cool. So there was one thing that I did in there. I'll talk briefly and then wrap this up for you. Thanks for sticking around if you're still here. I played over the A section. So my basic idea was this. And then I had some filler around it. And I changed it to B natural to A, to B flat to A when I hit the C chord a C7 chord, just so it fit the harmony. But it was kind of the same idea. And so that I did, there's kind of a lot in that one. I had the main idea, and then I filled underneath it. And then I filled, the second time my fill was above it. So it's this idea that's kind of circular, encapsulated by fills that also have somewhat of a structure to it. Have the idea, filled underneath it, idea, fill above it, idea, same kind of fill underneath it. Now it's the same idea but different harmony, so I can kind of do whatever I want with it because the harmony is changing the color of everything. So I have... And that time I played the C. I didn't really like that actually. But I could fill back into the B and do it again because it's a two-line phrase, 8 bars split in half. So I'm kind of taking that one idea and just surrounding it with some other things. To be able to do that, you need to know where the notes are in relationship to the chords. Maybe I'll have a video talking about that, but I think this one's long enough as it is, and we'll get into something else on another time. So I got to figure out what to title this thing and put it up on the old internet. And hopefully somebody gets something out of it, and hopefully I'll get a better format as these go. I'm kind of just winging it and seeing how it goes, and they're a little bit longer than I would like them to be, but we'll see if anybody watches and likes the 20-minute time length. I was thinking 10 would probably be good. You can put a note in the comments, see what you would like to see or talk about, if there's a subject you want to talk about, or you heard something in the improvisations. That might be a good way of doing it, actually. Maybe I'll just improvise more and talk a little bit less, and if you guys hear something that you want me to talk about, then I'll talk about that in the next video, or maybe that would work better at a live stream kind of thing. I don't know, we'll figure it out, but I'll see you in the next one.